So today I wanted to look into the fourth chapter of Luke. If you're following along with our Lenten study, hopefully you will have read most of chapters 4 through 6 this week and will be able to finish it before Sunday. So then next week we could read chapters 7 through 9. Now in chapter 4 we have what is really the soul of Lent. This is the experience upon which the Lenten experience is designed. Jesus, full of the Holy Spirit, returned from the Jordan, was led by the Spirit in the wilderness, where for 40 days he was tempted by the devil. So that 40 days period, there were 40 days in Lent, not counting the Sundays, between Ash Wednesday and Easter Sunday. And those 40 days, we, like Jesus, walk through a certain wilderness, and we sometimes we may give up something or add a discipline or something like that as we go through this period of Lent, and it reflects on Jesus' experiences in wilderness. It must have been something that was important for him to do. He must have needed to be out there, and he must have been gaining spiritual things, even though his body, of course, was weakened by this fasting. And it was at this point, the weakness of his body, that the devil came to him and tempts him 3 times. The first one has to do with turning stones into bread because he's hungry. And I think all of us experience occasionally temptations to do things that will take a shortcut and won't do the hard work of creating, benefiting a relationship or whatever it is we're trying to do. Just kind of take a shortcut. You go through the quick lane, and that's what the devil wanted Jesus to try to do. And of course, Jesus pushes back against that. So let's reflect on that this week. And in what ways do we try to take spiritual shortcuts or shortcuts in relationships? The second temptation, the way that Luke lines them out, has to do with the devil will give him authority if Jesus will bow down to him. Now, of course, this would have created the opportunity for Jesus to do tremendous amounts of good. I mean, he could have taken over the whole world if he had accepted the devil's invitation here, and he could have shared his teachings far and wide. But, of course, it would have been terrible because he would have sinned and then destroyed his real mission and traded it for something else. Now, Christians do this. They will make alliances with powers of this world, like political parties, for instance, and then they will trade their support in the hopes that they're going to get more power to push their own agenda as Christians. But it always works out the opposite of that. It always ends up that the religious folks are kind of carried along and wind up being participants in things that they really didn't mean to be participants in. That's not to say don't be a member of a political party, but we just cannot hook our wagon as Christians to political parties. It just doesn't work. So think about that too. In what ways have we been willing to give up what we truly value and believe in order to make some pragmatic advance? And then thirdly, the temptation is to throw himself off the pinnacle of the temple. And I think this has to do with getting people to look at him, using his miraculous power in order to gain lots and lots of attention. And fame is certainly something that has tripped up many, and it would have tripped up Jesus for sure, because for one thing, he would have been tempting God to catch him when he jumped off the pinnacle of the temple. And we don't ever want to put ourselves in a place where we've gotten ourselves in a mess on purpose, and now we expect God to get us out of it. But it's more than that. If Jesus used his miraculous power in order to gain fame, then really the rest of his mission would have been very difficult to discern. He just would have been this great miracle worker that was looked at as famous, and people just would have wanted more and more miracles from him rather than the true mission that he had. And so a lot of times we can get thrown off of our real mission because what we're doing is gaining maybe popularity or gaining some sort of power or fixing some sort of problem, any of these temptations. But we need to stay focused on what our true mission is. And Jesus did not have much trouble with these temptations. He came up immediately with the correct response. He continued his mission. Now, his mission did include miracles. It did include teachings. It did include becoming well known. But all of those things happened just as God wanted them to happen, and they couldn't be forced by Satan or by anyone else. And ultimately, Jesus needed to go to the cross. And he needed to go to the cross to demonstrate what true love was and his willingness to sacrifice himself for the life of others.